This is John Ward, welcoming you to another presentation of Tennessee football on home video. The story you're about to see unfold is one of adventure and achievement. It's the story of teamwork, commitment, and the will to win.
Doesn't need a lot of... Oh! He took a weapon!
Welcome back to the Blue Chip Breakdown, Vols fans. I am your host, Bull, and this is my co-host and host as well, P. And wow, man, we just barely scraped out of the. I mean, we barely got up out of Lexington with that one. I'm not very impressed with the way that we played. Just in all honesty, that's just me talking. P, you may feel differently, but we are here for y'all, and y'all express y'all's thoughts and, how y'all felt throughout this game. Feel like we really could have won that game by a lot more. Several things I feel like didn't go right in that game, and we've got to get better moving forward. We definitely have the opportunity to be able to, control our own destiny moving forward in this season. But we got to play a lot better than what we played tonight. That's a team that we were way better than, and we should have beat them by more than what we did. But, it is what it is. I don't know what the final score was, but I'm going to look
I think it's 33 to 24.
33 to 27. 33
well,
to
I mean,
27.
the biggest question that mark that we had was freaking Jalen Wright.
Yep.
Is he hurt? It looked like he was a little gimpy. They showed him, during the TV timeouts, whatever. Seemed a little gimpy, like he might have had something going on. I don't know. But we didn't see him. It was pretty much the whole second half was Jabari Small a little bit, and then mostly Dylan Sampson. So gotta hope he's all right. Hope he's ready to go. I mean, didn't like it was anything serious if it wasn't anything, but he'll definitely should be ready to go against UConn. And who we got? Mizzou, and should definitely ready about Georgia, which is a big one. But
yeah, I mean that's going to be the big one. But really, I mean, looking at the way, so my biggest hold up is with the pass rush and with the secondary. The pass rush and the secondary just did not look
tonight
like what it has. Especially within the past maybe 3 to 4 weeks. It just did not look like what it has been. Yeah, I mean, pretty much all season. So obviously, Haddon is out. And, we talked about this in the tailgate show. And, Haddon is a guy that we knew was really critical for this team. Missing him looks like it's a lot bigger of a miss than what we thought it would be. We talked about missing Brew. We knew how big that was going to be for this offense and for this entire team. And, now we've got Brew is down, Haddon is down. So what do we do moving forward? It just looked like the pass rush wasn't getting there. And everyone was like, oh, well, the secondary looks really good because we've got a great pass rush.
Right.
People just don't understand that works hand in hand. And, this was definitely a situation where we were able to see that. Kentucky is a team that they've got an offensive line that's going to play solid football, but, they shouldn't be able to stonewall us as much as they did. Let me take a look and see. Let me take a look at the stats and see how many sacks we have in this game. I think we only had one.
It was only one?
I think we only had one. And this right here is actually – this is not even showing us how many sacks we have, but I'm pretty sure that we only had 1 sack in this game. So that right there, I think that kind of tells you a lot about what this what that secondary is going to look like without – I think that tells you a lot about what the secondary is going to look like without Haddon in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, heck, only 1 sack against these guys. I mean, it's hard to wrap my mind around Haddon having that much of an impact on the pass rush. But I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he locked guys down. But the pass rush is not there. We kept saying it. Pretty much every time they drop back, man, he's got all day throw. And I mean, James Pierce, where are you at? Tyler Barron, where are you at? Omar Malott, where are you at?
Yeah.
Now, we will say this. It did seem like they were holding our guys, but here's the deal. Okay. We're going to get that every freaking week.
Okay? Yeah, I mean, look. So guys have got to get up off of holds.
Got to get off holds. Can't be held.
Like we can't look to the ref and try to get penalties. I feel like our guys have to play through that type of stuff. I'm kind of going through some of these chats here, and I see who all's in here. So Timmy Williams is in the house. Says no throw. Joe, I think that was earlier in the night. But Joe Milton had a really good game. And then we've got Tennessee Mountain Man. He says, yes, sir, go Vols. Absolutely. Jerry Gibson says, go Vols. And then Jerry Gibson also says, I'm not impressed with third quarter play calling at all. I agree with that for sure. And then Alpha Man 06 says, hoping to see Nico. We're going to get to that in just a second. And then Super Drag USA 1 says, possibly to see Gaston get snaps versus UConn. All right, so let me kind of get to all that. So starting it all off, no throw Joe. So Joe Milton had a good game, and I can tell you what his stats are. He played well. People keep on wanting to harp on Joe Milton. This is not on Joe. He was 17 of 20 for 277 with one touchdown, no interceptions. Let's see, did he rush for? Let's see. So this right here doesn't even have Joe Milton's rushing stats, but he did a good job rushing also.
Yeah.
Joe Milton is not the problem.
No.
And so with saying that, I'm also going to talk about the whole Nico talk. Nico, this is just how I see it. And P, you may see it differently, but from the way that I see it, Nico is not going to give us any more than what Joe gave us tonight. He's not going to give us anything else. We kind of talked about, I don't know if we did this on air or if this was prior to that, but we talked about Dante Thornton and him showing up in this game just because it's a team that Tennessee feels like they can dominate. So I felt like in his mindset, he would feel like he could dominate tonight, so he would have a good game. Seems like he may have been our best wide receiver in this game. Gaston Moore is a walk-on third-string quarterback, and people keep on talking about bringing him in. And I don't want to undermine what anyone is saying, but you have to understand he's third-string walk-on quarterback for this team. He's not even on scholarship even to this point, and that's for a reason. His ceiling is way lower than any of the other quarterbacks that we have on this roster, and I'm really just talking about Joe Milton and Nico Malayaba. His ceiling is a lot lower than that. He may look good in our orange and white game, but he's also going up against our third and fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh string. He's going up against walk-on guys. He's not going up against starters. So please keep that in mind, whenever we're going through all this. My biggest hold-up in this game was maybe play calling. Man, I'm about to open up a whole can of worms with this, but I feel like Coach Heupel is just too loyal. He's too loyal to too many different people. In our tailgate, pregame show, we're talking about how, Joe Milton was starting over Hendon Hooker last season. And we saw once Hendon Hooker started to play that he was the better player. We're seeing a whole lot of that right now with our wide receiver core, and we saw it a lot with our running backs. Jalen Wright seems like he only got maybe 1 to 2 series. Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody please explain to me why.
I think he had to have some type of injury. Maybe we'll hear about that in the post-game pressure, which we didn't watch that yet. But he did seem a little I thought I saw a little limp from him. They showed him, during the kind of TV timeout, they showed him a little bit. So maybe he has something going on. But I don't know what his stats were, but he was like 11 carries for over 100 yards. He was averaging about 10 yards per carry.
Good. I can tell you what they are right now.
Yeah, let's see what his stats were.
So rushing, Jalen Wright had 11 carries for 120 yards, 10.9 yards per carry with 1 touchdown. He had to have been hurt to have not been playing.
Yeah, at all in the second half.
That whole second half. And this is something that we've talked about on this channel several times. I really do love Jabari Small, but he's running back number 3 in this system right now. He just is. That's just what it is. That's just who he is. He's number 3. And we've got to put him at number 3. Dylan Sampson is way more of a spark, like we just talked about. Obviously, Jalen Wright didn't play a whole lot in that second half, if at all. But whenever, Small came in, it was just like a huge drop-off. We've got to do a better job of playing our guys, okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Something else. We talked about this pregame about Dante Thornton. Kind of talked about this just a taste. He had a pretty good game. I'm going to tell you what his stats were. let's see, receiving. Dante Thornton had 3 catches for 63 yards, 21 yards per catch with no touchdowns. His longest catch was for 47 yards. Those are not bad stats.
Not bad at all. Yeah.
But let me just tell you this. If I'm the head coach, he wouldn't have had any of that because I would have not have put him into the game. You know what I'm saying? He would have never have seen the field because he has not shown me that he can do what it takes in those tough games. Right. And, you know, it's all well and good to do it in games that, you know, up against Kentucky. Yeah. All right? Like, okay, so what, dude? Right. Like, those don't even count.
Right.
We need for you to be able to show us that you can do it whenever it counts, and he has not shown us that. So,
not at all, man.
That is my biggest concern with Dante Thornton. But maybe this will give him some confidence moving forward because we do need for somebody else to step up. Yeah. Something else that we talked about pregame, we need somebody else to step up besides Squirrel White, who looks like he was our second leading wide receiver. And I'm going to go back to the stats for that because I just want to be right about it. Okay, so Squirrel White had 4 catches, 46 yards, 11.5 per catch with no touchdowns. And the only touchdown that we had was to Chaz Nimrod. That is another guy that we most definitely have to get more implemented into the system.
I think so.
I'm putting a whole lot of the onus on how close this game was because, in all honesty, I know I did my whole pregame thing and I said Tennessee's going to win by 10. That was me being very, very conservative. Tennessee should have won this game by 3 or more touchdowns. And the reason that we didn't, I feel like, is just because Coach Heupel is a little bit too loyal. You know, sometimes you can be loyal to a fault. And I think that is an issue right now for us.
I think so, man. I mean, we talk about it, and Chaz Nimrod is a guy, track guy in high school. You know, I don't know what his times, excuse me, I don't know what his times were, but he's a guy that can run. A lot of the guys who got split out wide, they can run, and they're going to be open. And we talk about that pregame. He's going to be open. And, you know, it was nice to see us get the ball to him. You know, of course, he's wide open, like I said he'd be. Yeah. Nice to see us get the ball to him. Joe played very well. But I think Nimrod's a guy we got to get the ball to more. I think he's usually – if you got him one-on-one, I think pretty much any of our receivers, if they're one-on-one, you've got to take that shot. I mean, I think I like our guys against pretty much anybody they go against one-on-one. But, you know, I don't know. I go, you know, obviously this is a kind of an immediate reaction after the game.
Yeah.
Got to go back and watch the film to really kind of dissect it and break it down. But it's like there are more opportunities for us to go out there and put more points in these guys and to win. And, you know, obviously we won the game, which is at the end of the day what you want to see. But we're always looking ahead. You know, this is a team that we expect to be able to compete for national titles.
Yeah.
And so we're always comparing it to the teams we're going to see down the road, whether it be Georgia, Bama, you know, Ohio State, whoever's going to be.
Yeah.
And so we're always, you know, we want to see us dominate these type of teams. And I think we could have beat these guys by definitely more than one score. I mean,
absolutely. And I think that a large part of that was from our defense. So whenever you look at our defense, again, there was really no pass rush. I'm trying to look at the stats. I'm looking at ESPN. They, for some reason, don't have the, you know, defensive stats up, but I think that we only had 1 sack in this game.
Wow.
That is pathetic.
It's terrible.
That's disgusting.
We had 0 rush.
And let me also say this, okay? And we could have talked about this just to start it off. You know, without Haddon, so Slaughter didn't look great in coverage. You know, T-Mac didn't look great. Gabe Judy Lally is a guy that, you know, we don't expect a whole lot from necessarily. At least I don't.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's a whole lot of liabilities out there in pass coverage. We have got to, I mean, Coach Banks has got to find a way. And this is very frustrating for me. You saw that we were not getting any pass rush. Why aren't you blitzing? Why aren't you blitzing? It is egregious. It's egregious against a team that we are so much better than. Force them to beat us. Leary is 54% coming into this game. Why are we acting like he's Tom Brady and we can't blitz him? That pisses me off.
No, I'm right there with you on that, man. I don't understand why we didn't bring any pressure. Beasley is a great blitzer. I mean, I think Herring, that's probably his best attribute is the ability to get the passer. We didn't rush at all. And, I mean, that's something we kept saying during the game. What we keep saying, he's got all day to throw. He's got all day to throw. He's got all day to throw. And they picked us apart. I mean, Leary, this is probably his highest passing.
He threw for 373.
Dude got there with 450 yards against us. Might as well say that.
28 of 39. I don't know what that percentage
28
is.
of 39.
But that's way more than 50.
I mean, that's
way more than
that's 450 yards in my book.
That's inexcusable.
He threw 500 yards against us, and we let it happen. We sat back and let him do it. And there was a part of me that kept thinking, "Hey, we're gonna let these guys go out here and pass it and beat us." And you talk about the pregame. What we talk about? Hey, we're not gonna let them run all over us.
Yeah,
we're not gonna let them pass all over us. And guess what they did? They went there and passed all over us.
They passed it all over.
I
didn't even think that was even going to be a possibility.
Yeah,
even with handing out, I was like, dude,
threat.
We're going to get some sort of a rush.
That's terrible.
If our front four is not getting that rush, I felt like we would scheme up some sort of pressure, and we just didn't do it.
I mean, but like we said, here's the thing: we got back and watch the film because that's obviously concerning. We talk about a team like Missouri,
for sure.
Who's got Luther Burden, and they got the other 5-star guy they got a receiver.
Well, all right. So hold on. So
they got guys.
Yeah. Oh, they most definitely do. So let me just say this: Kentucky ended this game with 24 attempts rushing. 72 yards. That's good for 3 yards a carry average and 1 touchdown rushing.
Hey, what did you talk about pregame?
I said that if we stop Davis, if we can ball him out, I said we're gonna have a great day on defense.
What did you say? You said
I was dead wrong when I said that.
What'd you say?
What I said about
can we hold him less than Georgia per carry? What Georgia give him?
Oh yeah, no, we was way less than what Georgia did. We was way less than that.
So
yeah, but I'm also looking at us like this. I'm saying, I said that it's kind of like a gauge. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I did expect for us to do way better than what Georgia did. Just honestly speaking, I did.
We're better team than Georgia.
We are a better defense than what I feel like our defense is better than
that. Yeah. What else do we say pregame? What is who we play? A&M and Bama before we play these guys. And what we say, we're going to come to this game. Don't expect us to be maybe a little bit less physical up front.
We did say that after coming off of that Bama game.
So,
but we were physical up front in that run game. We did a great job in that.
I'll tip my hat to that because what do we say? Stop Ray Davis.
Yeah,
and I feel like we did that today, and we forced O'Leary to beat us. Whatever his name is, we forced him to beat us. Larry forcing to beat us, and I'll say that during the game. Hey, stop the run, force Larry to beat you. Even though he was lighting us up, still, hey, if we lose with him beating us, I would rather live with that than live with them doing what they know and we know they can do well.
Absolutely, yeah. So that does speak a whole lot to what the game plan obviously was coming into this, game, but. Yeah. My biggest concern, and I'm sorry, y'all, but sometimes, at this point in the season, we got past the tough part. I fully expect for us to be able to beat Kentucky. I expect for us to beat Mizzou, UConn. I'm just me personally speaking. I'm on to Georgia. Yeah. And Georgia has done a very good job passing.
Well,
and that is what concerns me with the way that we played tonight. Yeah. We've got to be able to establish a pass rush. That was the strongest. Our pass rush was maybe the strongest part of this entire team.
I agree.
And I would say that maybe our run defense was number 2. Run defense showed up today. So and that's a big clap up for that.
Yeah.
We're going to get a little bit more into that because I've got some notes on that. But we've got to do a much better job. With only 1 sack, whenever we're averaging 4, up against a team that I think that they came into the game giving up about 2.5, close to 2.5 sacks per game. We didn't even reach that.
Yeah.
And now, granted, we did play up against Kentucky at home, and Georgia got to play them in Athens. They got to play them in Georgia. So it is different.
It definitely is different.
We've seen that a whole lot.
I think that plays into it for sure. I think the fact that, we're on the road, I think that plays into it. But, I don't
even want to hear it, though.
No excuses, but I do think that is a factor you have to consider when you talk about the numbers. You look at the numbers, I think that's definitely a factor. And, I go back and watch the film, but, we saw live Tyler Barron's getting held hard.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's I mean, I don't know. I mean, that definitely was a concerning thing during the game. Watching it live was the pass rush, but the same, on the same token, I mean, guys were getting held like wouldn't believe. I can only go back and watch it to really get a good feel for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen,
like
guys, we are going to literally as soon as we get done with this, I'm going to go back through and watch that entire game. I'm gonna stay up all night and I'm gonna really break this down, just because I feel like this is a game that we should have dominated even more than we did. But I don't want to be, like all sad stuff, because we did win. We found a way to win in Lexington on the road. Road Wolves was something that people kept on talking about with this team. This is not that same team. Joe Milton does look good. Offensive line looked pretty good. Running game looked good. I'm about to pull up all those stats. So there's a whole lot of positives. We are in. Just please understand this when we say it. Please get this. We are looking at championships. So whenever we are hard on this team, it's because we're looking at what is it going to take for us to be able to win championships. But if you're looking at it from the perspective of, can we win out? I would say, I would feel really good about that possibility.
I mean, we're
after this game. But hold on 1 second.
Okay,
let me get to the super chat real quick. Then I'm gonna let you go. So Timmy G for $20. Thank you so much, Timmy G.
Timmy G.
He says we won. Hopefully, we see Nico versus UConn. Have a great night. Hey, thank you so much, Timmy G.
Hopefully,
we are going to play the clip for you. But yeah, I mean, definitely, like we most definitely have to get this stuff going. Thank you so much, Timmy G. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, and again, kind of like what I was just saying. This is not about. I'm so sorry for being, just like a negative Nancy on this whole thing. We're looking at it a little bit differently. Yeah. Again, we came into this game expecting to win, and we did enough to win, and we covered that spread more than enough, and so the team as a whole played, I would say, relatively well. But we are looking at championships. We've got to do. There are a couple things for us to clean up, and that's something that we saw just off the whim.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're necessarily being negative, but I mean, heck, you tune into this channel, we're looking at it from like a coach's perspective. We're looking at it like the film they're going to be watching tomorrow, or Monday, wherever they. For sure, like, we're looking at it in that perspective, and when you talk about it from that perspective, there's always things that could have done better, and the coaches are going to be disappointed like in what they saw from their team, because they're looking at it in a different. It's not necessarily about the wins and losses. Like, if you execute to level you're supposed to execute, you're going to win the game. And excuse me, I just feel like we did not execute at a level that we're capable of executing at. And so,
and that's the biggest thing is that and again, we're not saying that we are coaches, but we are looking at it from the way that we feel like the coaches would look at this. Exactly. And we're looking at what the ceiling is for this team and how did we perform, how do we execute our game plan. And we're also, this is something that the coaches won't necessarily too much be doing except for Hypo, but we're looking outside of Hypo. How did they game plan? And, again, we don't know everything. It's just our perspective on things. I think that the game plan overall was pretty good. We've got a really big problem. So if John Campbell is as banged up as what it looked like, he did come back, which is great news. At left tackle, we're going to have a big issue. So we both thought that we would slide Mincy over to left tackle because that's what he has really wanted to play since he's been here. And we thought that maybe we would put Dane Davis over at right tackle. But what we did is we put Crawford in at left tackle and we kept Mincy in at right tackle. And the offensive line took a huge step backwards with that lineup. Yeah. And that's the thing about it, guys. And, this has nothing to do with not necessarily with what we've got going on, but as fans that love this team, if you can donate more to this team to get some more money, to get some better players in, we need better offensive linemen for sure. And this team needs better wide receivers. Yeah. And next season, we're going to need better defensive tackles. So we need money going into this transfer portal thing because we need guys who are going to be ready to play right now. Yeah. We need more money to throw at, high school players. So if you are willing and able to be able to give more money to this team in any way, shape, form, or fashion, I don't have the, correct avenues per se to be able to direct you to that, but I will get on that after this, video. We need for whoever can give to give, because we do need better players. I mean, we're still not at a depth perspective like the Alabamas, and I mean, it's crazy. This is to say LSU's. LSU is deep. They've just got a terrible coach. Georgia's, teams like that. If we want to win championships, we've got to go out and get more depth. We've got to get better players. Sure. And again, like we said, to kind of start this thing off, I think that Josh Heupel is going to have to get a little bit more of that. And I hate to say this. I hate to keep on bringing up Alabama, but it's got to get more of that Nick Saban in him, where it doesn't matter if you're a 5th, 6th, 7th year senior, whatever, the best players will play. He's got to get more of that in him. And I think he's being a little bit too loyal to the players that have not been consistent for this team. And it worked out tonight, but that does not mean that it's going to work out in crunch time. Absolutely. And that's when it counts. It counts whenever guys are going to be dogs. Right. It's easy to go out, against Kentucky and make catches, Dante Thornton. Okay. But what's going to happen up against Alabama, Texas A&M, Florida, Georgia's coming up. Mizzou is going to be a tough game. Are you going to perform then? I surely hope so. I hope so.
Hope so.
But I have, me personally, if I was coaching, I would have absolutely no faith in him.
Confidence.
I'd be looking at those underclassmen guys because we don't have anybody else. So I'm just saying all that just to say we've got to stack it up. The offensive line took a huge hit with a couple of guys going down and being kind of banged up. Yeah. And, Dante, not Dante Thornton, but, Brew going down and, obviously Hatton going down. We need more depth. We're just not fully there yet. I'm very concerned moving forward. We need more people to step up on a consistent basis. So,
I agree. No, 100%. I mean, it sounds like we're being negative, but
I don't want to be too negative.
And that's why I said what I said about us looking at it from a coach's perspective, because the coaches, the players, they look at it differently than a typical fan would. We're looking at it, we're looking at each play is its own thing, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter what the end result is. That does not matter. It's okay. Here's a snap. How's this play? Yeah. Okay. Boom. Okay. That play's over. Here's a snap. How's it play? We're looking at that over and over again throughout the course of the game. And I feel
throughout the course of the season too.
Right. Throughout the course of the season, I feel like overall we did not play to the level that we need to play at if we're
capable of playing way better than what we played
Kentucky's not a very good team.
I think the average fan can even see that too.
Yeah, and I agree. And also we're looking at the fact that we believe in this team's ability to go out here and compete for something, that means something. We, if we get if the chips fall the way that we want them to fall, Georgia loses the game before they play us. Like, we have a chance to go play for the SEC title, and once we get a chance to go play for that, we got a chance to go compete for playoff. And so, we're talking about going out here and win the whole thing. And so we're looking at it from that lens, or I guess through that lens. And so, you
gotta get that fixed.
I don't know where that is. Hold on, my phone.
Yeah, but so just to kind of carry off of what Pete was just saying, we are looking at it through that lens, just as maybe, more of what the coaches are looking at. But obviously, we don't know all the X's and O's, so we can't specifically do it just like those coaches. But we can look at certain things that I feel like are a pretty solid indicator of who we can trust and who we can't trust. And, outside of that, we can, once we go back and look at film, we can kind of see what the game plan was, what the scheme was. And, from there, we can see even more. But, I would say that we still have a little bit of a ways to go for sure. And, I am proud of so many different players, though. Yeah. I feel like Squirrel has done a great job. Again, Joe Milton played a really great game. This is actually probably the worst game that I've seen Cooper Mays have. And again, not trying to be negative, but he didn't have a great game. He didn't play terrible by any means, but everything is all relative. We're comparing Coop to Coop, and Coop is a dog. Coop plays great all the time. Yeah. So compared to what he has done on a usual basis, probably wasn't his best game. And the offensive line could have played better as a whole. Defensive line for sure could have played way better as a whole. And pass rush. But I think that our overall game plan was to stop Kentucky's run game, and we did a phenomenal job.
We did a great job of that, man. That's something we talked about pregame was holding them to less yards per carry than Georgia did.
We
did that. They had over 4 yards against Georgia. They were under 3 against, or under 4 against us, like 3 point something against us. So I mean, we did a great job with that, and and I was saying that as the game was going on is stop the run, stop the run, stop the run. I mean, if they were to beat us passing the ball, I would be willing to live with that.
Yeah, because they weren't passing well consistently.
That's not who they are.
Yeah, because see, like that would have told us that our coaching staff understands what the team is doing, and the game plan is in the correct place.
Right.
So sometimes, hey, these are all SEC caliber guys, so sometimes they're going to have good games and they're just going to play well, and you cannot get upset with the coaching staff that keyed on what the strengths was for this offense. And they just came out and made plays.
Yeah.
But let me get into some of these. So Franklin Richfield says Joe Gibbons. Okay, well, that's not the right one. Hold on, this thing kind of messed me up. There was one that said, okay, here it is, right here. So this is Joe Gibbons. He says, "Why don't we play man?" All right. So I highlighted this, and everybody else, y'all had some great comments, but I highlighted that one just because it kind of goes with the flow of what we're talking about at this moment. And I do feel like, and this is something we're calling for, why aren't we playing man? We played a whole lot of cover 3, which means that we had our corners were playing in a deep third. So they were playing deep coverage, trying to protect from deep passes. And we had a safety in the middle of the field playing deep coverage also. And this is a pretty good coverage to play up against
run-heavy teams.
Yeah, it's good to play up against run-heavy teams, but I just don't think that it was the right defense to play up against this run-heavy team.
Yeah.
I think that we could have played cover 2 because so you will play cover 3 up against run-heavy teams with pretty good quarterback play. Right. We came into this game with a quarterback that didn't have great quarterback play. And so we could have played cover 2 and forced him to find some tighter, windows to throw those balls into. And that's why we had a whole lot of openings. And we did talk about that several times. Like, why don't we man up against them? And also, obviously, whenever you're better than a team, you can man up more. Man up. You're better than them. You're like, we have better athletes than what they have. Let's man up and let's force them to beat us. Let's man up. Let's bring some pressure and let's make this quarterback make some throws into some really tight windows. And let's make him find them. People will get open in man coverage, but a lot of times, for some reason, it always works out this way. Seems to be backside. Okay, so backside, it lets bring pressure from the backside, force him to his right side, and he's not going to be looking backside. Let's force him to look to the side where we've got our better players at, where the field is shorter at. I did not like the game plan on defense from a pass, from a pass game perspective. But whenever you talk about shutting down Ray Davis, it was beautiful.
It was beautiful, man.
We had to find a way to be able to do both, though.
Yeah, I agree, man. We got to find a way to do both. I don't understand why to me, it was the pass rush. The pass rush was non-existent tonight. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is. We're getting hemmed up. James Pierce didn't show up. Yeah. I mean, I know Tyler Barron. I mean, every time I looked at him, he was getting held. So
yeah, that
was probably a huge factor, probably for all the guys. But the pass rush, the pass rush has to be better. But I like the game plan just because, like you just said, like it did kind of shut down the run game.
Yeah.
And to me, in this game, that was number priority. Hey, if they can't run it, they can't beat us. They did have success moving the ball. Guys were open. But we got to be better in that aspect. But, I just feel like this is a game where we just really want to shut down the run game. And that's
I'm also saying, I don't think it was even just their run game. It was just Ray Davis. So we shut him down for making catches too.
Yeah.
So, again, I think that is a good job on that aspect from Coach Banks. Yeah. But, we also have to, we're not getting pressure. And if we see that they're doing something, we have to be able to adjust. Right. That was the biggest issue in that Alabama game, is that we just did not adjust to what Alabama was doing to us. And, those types of things are concerning whenever you're talking about going on championship runs. And, coming into the season, I feel like this was the championship run type of a team. We've got to find some playmakers, some, more consistent playmakers on the outside, on offense and defense, for us to, get back into that conversation. Right now, it's not looking great. I'm just going to be honest. It's just not. We've got to get these guys playing up to a much higher standard, or we have to find some sort of a game plan, especially on defense. to be able to slow down and shut down, what teams like to do.
Yeah, I mean, but I will stand on what I said pregame and the whole playing A&M and Bama back to back. I do still think that factored into maybe our D line's ability to get after the passer. Like I don't know what it is about playing those types of teams, but it seems like there's going to be a little bit less from those guys from the front, the following week. And so, I mean, I do think that played into it. We'll continue to watch these guys as they go out here and play UConn next week. And, I think Mizzou the next week. Mizzou's going to be a big test. I mean, it's going to be a huge test. Yeah. It's going to be a huge test, see if we can get the passer. They got guys that can catch the ball. They got 2 5-stars at receiver. Yeah. Burden's a 5-star, and that Weiss was also a 5-star transfer from Oklahoma. So they got 2 5-stars that can go catch the ball. It's still a team, similar like we said pregame, talking about Kentucky that's just a team that I feel like we're better than. Like our guys are better than their guys. You know what I mean? So we should be fine, but that's it's still gonna be a big test.
I'm gonna actually tell you this. Okay, so I think that Mizzou, I don't know if they have a bye coming into that week.
No idea.
I mean, you have to think about everything coming into this game, right? Yeah. Kentucky had a bye coming into this week.
Had a bye.
Okay.
We're off 2 physical games.
Yeah, and we came off of two of our toughest games in this season.
Probably our 2 toughest games.
Yeah, those are going to be our 2 toughest games. And then we had to play in Kentucky. We played in Lexington.
Night game.
Everything kind of went their way. I don't think that we're going to see – I mean, I literally feel like we got past the hump of what our toughest games are on this schedule.
This is our most vulnerable spot, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think that we'll figure out what Mizzou likes to do very well, and I haven't watched a whole lot of film on them. Oh. I've watched them in bits and pieces of games up against teams that we've seen, that we've kind of seen pre-gaming or, game planning for teams that we haven't, or, teams that we had to play up against earlier on in the season. And I'm just really not too impressed with them, kind of like what you just said. It's very similar to what Kentucky showed us today. We're going to be the better team physically. And we're playing there. Their stadium is not a big deal. The crowd's not a big deal, and I think that's going to be kind of a non-factor. Biggest thing is going to be, can we figure out what they really like to do, and can we stop that? And then if they come in with a different game plan to do something different, can we adjust to what they're doing?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we have to do a better job of, and obviously, we saw a whole lot in that. In this game and in the previous game. So I feel like that's something that we should have corrected by that game, right? Which is 2 weeks out. So, I mean, hopefully we do. I'm honestly speaking, this is just me. I'm just going off of the whim. I'm just talking straight from my heart. I'm not too concerned about any teams except for Georgia. And the only reason that Georgia right now is concerning me, because they didn't preseason. The only reason that they are right now is just because we have got to be able to find some more consistent playmakers on the outside. I love everything else that we're doing. If you watched any of that Florida game, Florida looked like the more dominant team until they tried to go for it on 4th down on their own, 35, 36-yard line. And it was one of the dumbest play calls. People are talking about Coach Heupel and his play calls on 4th down. Dude, I hope that Napier stays at Florida as long as possible, and we get to keep on playing him, because he is an idiot. I mean, he's an idiot.
They're gashing him for what, 8 yards a pop?
8 yards a pop. Run the ball right.
Fourth and half a yard.
Dude,
they shift. They go to a direct snap to the back and try to do a halfback pass. Dude, freaking run it right at these guys.
Run it at him. You don't have to you don't have to get too fancy. You don't have to outthink yourself.
Yeah,
and that's what he did.
He absolutely did.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not concerned about Florida moving forward. We're not going to see him again.
To be honest, I'm more concerned about Mizzou right now than I am Georgia, and here's the reason why: is because the pass game. Like I said, they've been passing it very well this season. They have 2 5-star receivers. And tonight we didn't look great against the pass. Now, I do think our pass rush hopefully will be better. You look at UConn as almost like a bye week. So hopefully guys can kind of get rested up a little bit, get ready to rock and roll. But we've got to get after Brady Cook. And here's the deal. Not to overlook UConn. I think they won 1 game this season, but not to overlook anybody, because we can't do that, at Tennessee. But, we've got to get after the passer. And I think to me, you look at the pass rush gave up. I think a lot of that had to do with the lack of pass rush.
That was a huge deal in this game. And I just think that Coach Banks
but here's the deal. I've said this every pod we've done is, we haven't blitzed very much. We've pretty much been bringing four. We've been pretty much bringing four. James Pierce getting hemmed up, this guy's got 4 or 5 seconds to sit back there and throw the ball. It's tough for any secondary to have success in that situation. So we've got to find ways.
I'm also tell you something else too. You are exactly right with what you're saying, but I'm just gonna say this with Haddon being in there, and this is something that we also talked about in our tailgate show, is that for whatever reason teams tried to target Haddon, and it was like the quarterbacks would look his side and he would have things covered up for the most part, and it was like they were kind of like, wait, like what a second. Like in film, he was getting beat, like he was getting burnt. Well, you know what I'm saying? And it was just that little bit of a pause that worked very well with our pass rush to get there. And now we're seeing how much that works together. I'm telling y'all, that works hand in hand. We have got to find a way to take away whatever teams like to do. And to know and just be real with ourselves, know what the strengths and weaknesses are on this entire defense, offense, everything. But I'm talking specifically about defense. Whatever our weaknesses are, we've got to find out what they are, and whatever our strengths are, let's play more to that, and let's force teams, with in a big combination of what our strengths and weaknesses are, what their strengths and weaknesses are. Let's force them into that, and that's what good defensive coordinators do. And we've seen that. It seems like we've seen that from Coach Banks, but in this game, we honestly we took away Ray Davis, but outside of that, it was like, okay, and maybe that was the whole game plan was, okay, we're gonna stop him, we're gonna make you beat us everywhere else, but we gave up everything else. That's unacceptable.
I think that was the game plan, and like we already said, we have to go back and watch the film to really see.
Yeah,
but. that was my kind of philosophy coming in, is stop Ray Davis. He's the only guy. Stop him. And I feel like we did that today. So I go back and watch the film and kind of see how we give up so many yards through the air. But watching it live, it just felt like we need to do a better job. Obviously, pass rush, we all talk about that. But disguising the coverages more. Just kind of disguising what you're in. Heck, show cover 3, but then, find a way to flip it to cover 2 or something. Just flip it. You've got to disguise what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Confuses guys pre-snap, post.
I'm just going to tell you this, and I'm going to say this really, really quick. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but Coach Banks' biggest thing is to stop that run game, which I absolutely love. Okay. That is the cornerstone of any defense. Stop the run first, get after the passer. I think that he has to find a way for us to be solid in our run defense, but still be able to confuse the offense and get some pass rush. I did want to bring this one up, though, and I think there's a couple more out there. So Big Papa says, did Bama show everybody how to shut down our pass rush? Because after the second half of Bama, our pass rush hasn't been there. What do you think about that?
Well, they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything special. They just beat us one-on-one. So, J.C. Latham, their right tackle, was freaking hemming up James Pierce.
Yeah,
you can't necessarily scheme that. There's nothing to do scheme wise. There's nothing that did scheme wise. It was just their guy was good and was better than our guy. So I don't know.
That is the truth, though.
We got to go back and maybe watch it. Maybe he was holding. Maybe they found a way to hold. Get away from legally.
Listen. So there were several holding calls in that game.
Definitely on Tyler Barron for sure.
For sure on Tyler Barron. That was across the board. There was a whole lot of holding calls that was not called. But at the end of the day, we kind of talked about this. They're going to hold on to every single play. You've got to find a way to be able to get off of that, and you've got to be able to make plays.
Right.
And that's something that our defensive line just didn't do. I'll tell you this, there's been several sacks that we've had throughout the season, and players were getting held before the sack, and it wasn't called. You've got to be dominant, and that's why being dominant up front is such a big deal. It's so impressive because you're getting held on every single play. So you've got to find a way to overcome that. But that's a really good question. And that's a really good point, because it very much seems that way, and we've got to do a better job of getting off blocks and making plays. So Anderson Hutzel says Tennessee won the game. That's all we need. Good job of breaking down this this game down. Yeah. So thank you so much, Anderson. And again, we're not trying to be negative Nancy's, but we're just going to call it like we see it. And there are some areas that we've got to get better at moving forward.
Like we said, we're watching it similar to how the coaches and players are watching it. Mm-hmm. They're going to watch the same way when they go to film room on tomorrow, Monday, whatever it is. They're going to have a similar take. Hey, they won the game, but I guarantee you, they're going to be getting ripped in film for things they did wrong. Yeah. I mean, that's the way it is. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. That does not matter, guys.
Yeah,
it's about the play-to-play.
Absolutely, I mean? Yeah. So we're much more. And if y'all don't want to hear more of what the coaches are going to be talking about and all that, then this may not necessarily always be the channel for y'all, because we're going to look at it from a coach's perspective, and we're just going to try to break it down in a way that the average fan can understand. But I would say that overall, obviously, I'm very happy, and we're all very happy that we won this game. But we are looking past. I hate to say this, but it's just the truth. I was looking past this game, so I was looking at how do we need to play to be able to, perform in the way that we need to be dominant moving forward, and have an opportunity to be able to win a championship. I'm from the class of Tennessee coming up in the 90s where we won all the time, and it was like championship or bust. That's what I came from. That's what P came from. So that's what we're used to. And I think we're going to die that way. You know what I mean? Yeah, Tennessee's had a whole lot of bad seasons.
And none of that, that's also the way we were coached on our team.
Yeah. That's just what it is. Like, we're used to just like winning at a high level. And that's not I'm not saying that in a way by any means to brag, but just to let y'all know where we're coming from. We're not trying to beat this team down. We're going to be honest. But this is our truth. Like, this is where we're coming from. It's coming from a place of wanting to win championships, not just a place to win. Okay,
absolutely.
Let's get some more of these chats. Our boy G, I'm about to get into this right here.
Is that G White?
He says Florida made UGA look like 2021. LOL. Yeah.
Well, hey. Go ahead. Here's the G White. Go back and watch that game again. I mean, obviously, the final score is what it was, 43-20, whatever it was. But go back and watch that game. If you watch it, go back and watch it again. Here's what you'll see. You'll see Florida coming out, having success, run the ball right at Georgia. You'll see, quarterback having success, guys are open. You'll see the whole deal. But then you'll see this. You'll see bad play calls. All of a sudden, let's do a double reverse. And now all of a sudden it doesn't work. Now we're in, second and 30. You'll see pre-snap penalties. Here's the one credit you ever hear me give to Georgia. And I'll give him this. And I gave it to Bull earlier. If you make a mistake like that, if you get behind the chains on them, it's tough to overcome that. And I will give them that. If you make a bad play call, if you get a pre-snap penalty, you're behind the chains. It is tough to overcome that against the Georgia team. And the reason why is because, they got, 40-something 5-stars on the roster.
Yeah, well, and you know what? Honestly speaking, as much as we hate Georgia, that's a sign of a well-coached football team, and they're very conservative in the way that they play. But, sometimes that can work to your benefit. I'm just going to tell you, those Tennessee teams back in the 90s, what do you think Foreman was doing? Do you think he was out scheming teams? Because he wasn't.
He was not. Just bigger, stronger, faster, better.
He was, this is what we do, and either you can stop it or you can't. And that is kind of what Georgia is doing, but just to way more of a lamer level than what Tennessee was doing.
How do you think Georgia did, using their other playmakers? How do you think the offense felt brought down?
So I didn't watch the entire game, but kind of back to P's point, what it seemed like is, here, steps, come on into the thing. What it seemed like to me, right? What it seemed like to me just from watching that ball game was that Florida was very dominant in that game coming in. And we look at that front seven, right? Mm-hmm. If you go back and if you watch that front seven, until Florida goes for that stupid fourth and short play call on their own 30-something yard line, and that was the dumbest play call. People keep on talking about hypo. That play call was idiotic. Until then, they were actually very dominant. And, I would love to see what the stats were from a rushing perspective. But it seems like Florida was averaging like 7-8 yards per carry. And that's all that they had to do. But it was like a couple of stupid play calls by Dagum, Sunbelt, what's
Billy.
that? Yeah, Sunbelt Billy. That I hope Florida keeps him because he's an absolute and total moron.
But I mean, it goes back to what I was saying. To Georgia's credit, if you do dumb stuff against them, they're
going to take advantage.
They take advantage of the stupid stuff. So, like, if you're having success getting 8-9 yards of pop on the ground, which is phenomenal. Hey, continue to do that. You can't do dumb stuff. Yeah, you can't do dumb stuff. You're gonna get in that 3rd and 1 at 4th and short.
That was a dumb play call. He snapped it between his legs.
Rolled
out to the left.
Hey, there was dumb play calls leading up into that. That freaking double. I mean, dude, you're running the ball at them. Why stop it? But again, that's why I want for him to stay. Yeah, and that's why we wanted for Coach Rick to stay in Athens because he did stupid stuff like that. Like he wouldn't go out and get all these great players here right in his area. But anyway, long story short, I think that's what really ended up killing Florida in that game. And once that happened, it seemed like Georgia said, "Oh, wait, we are better than y'all," and they just took over. And Florida said, "Wait, we're not better than y'all," and they just gave up. And I'm just hoping that Tennessee makes the correct play calls and stays in that game, and that our players play for a full 60 minutes. And I feel like that's the difference between us and teams like Florida and everybody else is that Tennessee, and as crazy as this is, hasn't been so much this way, since Brian Kelly's been there. But LSU is another team that I would put on the same kind of like caliber as what Tennessee is, where we're not scared to go up and play nobody. Yeah. And we're gonna play, you know what I mean? We ain't scared of nobody. Yeah,
typically those Louisiana guys aren't scared of anybody. But another thing to kind of go in Tennessee's favor, we do need to, make the correct play calls when we play Georgia in a couple weeks. But at the same time, I do also feel like, we haven't really necessarily shown this season, but if a guy can throw it 100 yards and Joe Milton can throw it 100 yards,
we need somebody who can go and run and get open for him.
I just feel like we're not out of any game that we're in.
Yeah.
And so, which is a contrast to Florida, who I feel like once they got behind, the game was over. They had no chance at that point.
That was way
so, I'll say
they came out in a pretty dominant fashion. So G also says, if we can run on Mizzou and control tempo, keep Cook off the field, I think we can do well. Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah, for sure.
Again, I haven't watched a whole lot of film on them, but from what I have seen, I'm just not overly I'm just not trying to think of the correct word to say, because I don't want to say afraid or scared.
Not impressed with those guys.
Yeah, I'm not impressed. That's not even the correct word.
I'm not impressed with those guys.
I just think that we can beat them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's nothing that they've shown me that makes me feel like we can't beat them.
Very similar to how I thought about when I watched Kentucky's film. Like,
they're maybe like a step above Kentucky.
They just don't got like
a
talent.
The talent's not there.
It's just not there. I mean, they got Luther Burden. He's nice.
They got a couple 5-star receiver. Yeah. But what else do they have?
All right, so G also says Tim Banks still can't dial up consistent pressure on QBs that can throw.
Well, here's the about that, and I'll say this is, I feel like it shouldn't be about dialing up pressure. I feel like it shouldn't be about dialing it up, especially against a team like Kentucky. It should be more about, heck, our front four is better than your front.
They should be able to get.
You know what I mean? It shouldn't matter about as far as dialing it up. I mean, heck, James Pierce, Tyler Barron, these guys should be able to get home. Omar Normalat, Big O.
Yeah,
you should be able to beat these 3-4 star. These. I mean, heck, 3-star guys. Let's keep it real. These 3-star guys. I mean, heck, what are you? You guys are 4 stars and 5 stars. Yeah. You should be able to beat these guys. We just have to dial anything up, and
shouldn't have to.
And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about as far as how the coach is looking at it. I mean, if I'm the coach talking to this team after the game, and one of our players asked me that, hey, coach, you ain't dialed enough pressure. I'm gonna say, hey, son, here's the deal. Seriously, here's the deal. You guys are better than those guys. Yeah, you should be able to beat them one-on-one.
I mean, definitely. So our coaches should not have had to have dialed up pressure, and that's 1,000% true. But whenever the pressure's not getting there,
at that point
you gotta start down. You know what I mean? And that's for us, it's always just about that bottom line. And the bottom line is winning. And winning takes certain things. You've got to win in certain categories, and pressure is a big one. So I just feel like Coach Banks has got to do a better job of a lot of these older school coaches. They do so well in things like being able to shut down the team's best player. You know what I mean? We shut him down, but then we give up other things. So you've got to be able to adapt and be versatile and find ways to do both. And, I just don't think that Tim Banks did a great job of that in this game. And there's been times when I don't feel like Josh Heupel has called a great game on the offensive side, in situations where we should have been able to do X, Y, and Z, but we couldn't do it. Okay, plan A didn't work. What's plan B? What's plan C? You've got to get to it and you've got to be able to execute it. Like, that is the frustrating part. Yeah. That's what frustrates me because you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars to be able to, come out here and give us as Vol fans, and we're all just fans, the best opportunity to be able to win. And whenever you're not doing it, that is frustrating. And I'm going to call you out for it. You're getting paid too much money. If I can see it, you should be able to see it because I'm not getting paid anything. None of us are. You should be able to figure it out getting paid as much as you are. Right. You know what I mean? Like I think that we would all feel the exact same way.
100%.
I would love to be able to be the freaking head coach and be able to get paid that much money.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm sure the hype and everybody else feels the exact same way. We'd blow everybody up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So but that's the difficulty of college football. You're dealing with these young men who ups and downs all the times, on and off the field, and you got to be able to navigate that and a million different things. I think that's the hardest coaching job in all of sports.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, college football, any coach on college football, but especially a head coach. Imagine all the stuff that Coach Heupel has to do on a day-to-day basis.
Recruit, game plan, meetings, all that.
He has to fundraise. He has to talk to the donors. He's got to talk to he's got to do a whole lot of stuff. He's got to be able to manage, all of the different personalities on that team, not just from the coaches, but from the players, from, prospective players, from high school players, from college players. That's a very difficult job. So, I'm saying all that just to say they deserve every penny that they're getting paid. It's not an easy job, but we are still going to criticize. I feel like, Coach Banks could have done a much better job in this game today. Like, you have to be able to adjust. If you want to win championships, you've got to adjust. That's what got us beat up against Bama.
Gotta adjust.
Let's go get it fixed, guys. Let's see what else we got. Sneaky Bowl says Tennessee was keyed on Ray Davis there to Kentucky to beat us throwing the ball. Yes, you're exactly right, sir. And I think that we did a great job of that. So you got to tip your hat to them for that. Yeah. That was the biggest thing in this game. A lot of people was really low on Leary. But I said, man, look, he's capable. I watched the film. If you watch him throw, he throws a beautiful ball. And he's not a bad quarterback. I don't know exactly what the issue was with, only 55% completions. But, for the most part, I was like, shoot, this dude is very capable. So I know that the coaches saw that same thing, and we just didn't think so. We said, hey, we're just going to key on Ray Davis, and that's all good because we ended up winning. Sneaky Bowl says our DBs don't get their heads turned, too busy face guarding. Yeah, so it's something we talked about in the tailgate, and you have to get back in phase, which means that you have to get close enough to the wide receiver, not only to touch him, but to be in a position where you can make a play on that football. And that is very difficult. And, especially the way that football is taught these days. We talked about 2009 football versus what football is today. It's two different sports. And, if you talk about it even before then, it's three different sports. Like, it was within that 5 yards whenever you're playing corner. You're going to mug that guy. You got 5 yards to do whatever you can and want to. You're going to mug him, slow him down, throw the whole thing off, and you're expecting for the pass rush to get there. Again, complimentary football. These days, I don't know if you can still do that. I haven't heard anything against it. I'm not sure. Nothing against it. I think you still can.
It's like sometimes they just be calling it, though. Like, sometimes they call it.
I'm just going to say this.
Like, yeah.
I personally, I've never seen them call any flags within the first 5 yards. Of a cornerback playing defense up against a wide receiver, which is why I'm big on if you're gonna play press man or press anything, get your daggum hands on them and bump these guys off the route. Anyway, it's not being taught that way now, and I don't understand why. That doesn't really matter. The simple fact is that's not the way that we're teaching it, obviously, because we're not being physical at the line of scrimmage. So, long story short, it's not as easy as what you may think to be able to play backwards and be able to run with a guy that's super fast and you don't know where he's running to, stay with him, get in phase, get to a point where you can make a play on the football and then be able to turn your head. And that's really difficult.
Well, I mean, I'll just say this simple thing. I mean, when you talk about looking back for the football, just think about this. If you're covering a guy, running a route, you look back for the ball, guess what? You're looking back for the ball. Well, guess where the ball is?
It might be over your head.
It's in the air.
It might
so
be
when you look back at the quarterback, the ball's already. You're not going to see the ball because it's already in the air.
Yeah.
So you're not even supposed to look back. You're supposed to look up because the ball's already in the air. So it's not as easy as it seems if you've never done it before. It's not as easy to just look back. You've actually supposed to look up because the ball's already in the air. So,
and this is coming from guys who, I mean, if you've been listening to us throughout, even through this live stream,
we've played it.
We are being we're going to be critical of it. You know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to make excuses for anybody. That is a very, very difficult thing. And this game is geared more towards the offense.
For sure.
And way more. I mean, quarterback is by far, I would say the quarterback is the hardest position to play in all of sports.
Yeah, that's what I.
And then I would say right behind that, it's got to be cornerback. You know, from college, any type of D1 college to the NFL. That is, it's really hard because the game is geared up because it seems like fans want more points and all that type of stuff now. So you can't really do anything to be able to stop it. Like,
let's ask a question. How many times have you seen offensive pass interference?
No, they don't call it. They don't call it. But like,
that happens every play.
If you analyze it, I'd probably say 80-90% of the plays that they call pass interference on defense, I'd probably say it's on offense.
They I mean, I listen. The wide receivers they push off a lot
every time. A lot. Never call ever.
But I saw that today.
I don't want to go off. I don't want to go too far to it, but that's
Tech upsets North Carolina.
Michael Wade says really proud of Joe Milton's performance tonight. Tight throws, throws on the run, good scrambling, smart plays all night. Yeah, and you know what? Thank you, Michael Wade, for saying that because a lot of people, for whatever reason, just want to hate on Milton. And yes, we do have a very great talent in. Nico, he's going to step in and he's going to be a really great player.
Good chance
but it's just not his time right now. Like, let's not just skip past the greatness that we're seeing right now with Joe Milton. Think back to Jared, Garantano and all the other guys that we had playing for this team that did not perform the way that any of us wanted. Like, let's continue to understand where we came from. And a big part of that definitely is all the winning that those 90s, teams did. So, I mean, I most definitely get it. But let's not, so Georgia Tech just beat North Carolina 46-42. I was actually going to pick this game.
I
was actually going to pick that. I actually like to go for Georgia Tech because they hate Georgia. Almost as much as I hate.
In fact, I'll be at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like y'all did pick them, but I
you didn't? Okay, I know I didn't.
I picked North Carolina.
I'm happy to see Georgia Tech winning. But so anyway, so just back to what I was saying. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what was I even saying.
We're talking about Joe Milton and
so just understand. Joe Milton is, honestly speaking, golly, I hate to say this because I don't want to throw any of our players under the bus, but the truth is what it is.
Joe Milton hasn't been that bad.
We need for players to step up, and we just don't have the same type of playmakers that we had last season. And I was one of the biggest advocates for, Hyatt's gone, Cedric Tillman's gone. I was like, Cedric Tillman barely even played last season. Yeah, he's good. Hyatt, he was a 3-star. He just worked really hard. And I was like, man, we got a whole lot of guys who are dogs that are going to step up. I was wrong when I said that. I was wrong when I said that. We don't have him. Okay, Keaton has not been consistent. Listen, Dante Thornton, if you think that I'm going to crown you after a game up against Kentucky, I'm not, dude. Like,
a bad Kentucky team.
A bad Kentucky team that went out and dominated. And, I'm not going to crown you. I need to see it on a more consistent basis. That's all that I'm saying. And I'm. It's not that I'm rooting. I'm never ever going to root against anybody on this team, and I don't care who does well. I just want for us to win. But I think that we need more consistency on the outside, and Milton has not had that same luxury as what Hendon Hooker had last season. He had the luxury of some guys that we're very consistent on the outside, and we've got to find the guys who can do that for us this season. And until then, I'm going to ride with Milton. And also, he played very well tonight. I think he had a really good game. So Hunter says, popping in here late. So sorry if it's been answered. Were the struggles with pass defense tonight a secondary issue or more of a lack of pressure? Yeah. So thanks so much for that, Hunter. Great question. So it was a combination of both. They both work hand in hand. I do think that he probably would have been leaning a little bit more towards the pass rush. I feel like we should have got way more pass rush up against Kentucky than we did.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes back to just looking at the mano side of things. I just feel like our guys are better than their guys up front. I mean, in the secondary, across the board, and so the fact that we couldn't get a rush on these guys. That's mind-boggling. He had all day.
He had a very, very long, and it's really tough to be able to cover for that much time, and it's also not as easy to be able to pass rush. If the DBs are not in their correct position. So again, they work hand in hand. But I would say that tonight definitely was a lot more on the pass rush. We've got to do a much better job at that moving forward. So hopefully we can do that. GY says Georgia Tech gunning for UGA. LOL. Yeah. Hey, you know what? What is that? Don't LOL at that, G, because I'm gonna tell you something. Georgia is not that good of a daggum team. They're front-running cowards. If they get up, they're going to play well. If they're down, they're going to play horrible.
Here's like what we said about Georgia, and the credit I'll give them is if you make those mistakes against them,
that's way too much credit to give.
If you get behind the chains, if you make dumb play calls, if you do dumb stuff, then it will snowball on you quickly against Georgia. But if you just go out there and smack them in the mouth, they can't handle that.
And that's something that you can set up against any team in the entire country.
I agree. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that. That's all I credit. Let me just tell you this, all right? So we are all born and raised in Georgia. So we understand it, right? And P and I, you know what I'm saying? I'm older than P, but Brad hasn't seen a whole lot of this, but I saw those Braves come up where we, should have had, 5, 6, 7 World Series time. Blue. Yeah. Okay. You're old enough to be able to have seen, the Falcons in that 98 going out there freaking losing, getting blown out. And, obviously the thing that happened more recently up against the daggone Patriots.
Choked. Still hurts.
Well, I'm saying all that just to say this, okay? Excuse me. Georgia teams are like this, okay? They are almost in the expectation of losing big games. Yeah. There is an expectation there.
Georgia already broke the curse.
Obviously, they didn't.
How?
Because
I'll tell you exactly how.
So we're never going to get in the habit.
Name the championships they've won. Who they won against?
He's going to take us way off the
TCU.
But
who'd they beat? Ohio State. But who was out?
Y'all beat a whole bunch of bums and scrubs.
Marvin Harrison. And then the game of, if y'all would have seen us again, what would have happened? Hey, let me tell you the one team Georgia didn't want to see again. Us. Yeah. I promise you.
No, we were
I promise you. They did not see us. They did not want to see Hendon Hooker.
Ray was over here biting his nails.
I promise you.
Tennessee's going to get to the playoffs?
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
I promise you.
I'm saying all that just to say this, okay? And I don't even know how we even got onto this, but I'm going to finish this. Understand this. Whenever you see a Georgia team of any way, shape, form of caliber or, whatever, in a championship manner or fashion, they're terrified. They're terrified and they're thinking of everything that could possibly go wrong. And I'm very big on the power of the mind. If you are already manifesting negativity, you're going to lose.
Yeah, we can't wait to see this guy.
I'm born and raised here. We're all born and raised here. So we understand that very, very strongly. Tennessee fans, this is not a knock on us Tennessee fans. This is actually a very positive thing. Think that they get this? You have no idea. Unless you lived in Georgia, you have no idea because Tennessee, there's no Tennessee teams that have done any of this. You know what I'm saying? On as much of a consistent basis, because it's gone from the time that I was born to all the way down to this is our nephew. Okay. He's seeing the exact same thing. So anyway, saying all just to say, if we get them down, they're already thinking negatively, and we're going to be able to beat them. You've got to be able to get them down. Don't do nothing stupid. You can beat them.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't take a whole lot. If you're beating them, running the ball right at them, keep running it right at them.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. They're going to fold. Their fans are going to fold.
Yeah.
I promise you.
I think
I'm saying this as a Tennessee fan that's grown up in Georgia.
We'll be fine that game. I'm not.
All right.
That's. I mean. You guys want me to keep it honest with you? I'll keep it honest with you. I'm more worried about Mizzou than I am Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you exactly why. No, I'll tell you exactly why. We're playing Georgia out again?
In Tennessee.
Oh, that's
in
right.
Knoxville.
It's in Neyland. So let me tell you something. I am not worried at all about that game. I'm more worried about us going on the road against Mizzou than I am against us playing freaking Carson Beck. Freaking who's their running backs? Who's their running back?
Edwards.
Who's their running back?
Kendall Milton.
Who's their defense? Who's their D line?
Seriously, we
can't wait to see.
Are not afraid of Georgia. But let me get to what Deborah says, because she doesn't comment a whole lot on the live streams, but she is a consistent person on the channel. So thank you, Deborah. But she's saying Peerless Price said recently today's players aren't as hungry as back in the day.
We were talking about that earlier.
Guys didn't tap out. They ran to the huddle, refused to come out. Real dogs. That's an excellent point, Deborah. And this is something that we talked about, and she was actually here too for that tailgate. But yeah, I mean, football it's a whole different sport. It's a whole different sport. It's not the same. You can't coach the same. You can't really teach the same. And so that's why I say kudos to Hypo for being able to. He's trying to find a way, because Hypo gets it. He knows what it's going to take. He's just trying to find a way to be able to relate to those players and not lose them in the process. But yeah, I mean, that's so true. You know, this team that we played, that Tennessee played up against tonight. If you talk about the teams back in the 90s, and I don't really want to talk about them, but if you talk about the teams back in the 90s, if we just had the talent that the team has today, they would have still blown them out just because there were more dogs. They were just dogs. It's just not it's just a whole different sport. It's just not the same.
It's not the same at all.
Hopefully we can get back to that. And that's something that I love about Fulmer being around. You know, Al Wilson's, any of those guys from those 90s teams, and obviously, the Eric Berries and those types of guys, you want them around as much as possible, because they will instill what Tennessee football really is. And you can't quantify it after this huge layoff of us not being what we have been in the 90s, when football is not the same anymore. We need people who lived it, breathed it, that can, put that message into these young guys' heads, and so that they understand, hey, we're different.
Well, I mean, that's kind of goes back to the reason why, through how bad we've been and however long, I always felt confident going to play, the better teams.
Yeah.
The reason why is because I knew we had a bunch of dogs in that daggone roster.
Yeah.
I knew we were going to go up, we're going to show up, we're going to punch in the mouth. I knew we weren't going to back down from anybody. We don't care who you are. We're not scared of you. Yeah. And that's to me, that's the Tennessee brand. We're not scared of anybody. And Deborah, that's a great point. I mean, I think something about that T, that power T, something about it, man. It just transcends timelessly. So
yeah, for sure. So I'm actually going to get back to this because he's talking about our Braves. This is Sneaky Bowl. It says those 90s Braves teams wasted some good chances. Elite pitching stats on those teams.
Man,
yeah,
Maddox, Glavine, John freaking Rocker.
You're talking about
beaming people.
But yeah,
I mean, come on.
Well, but I'm just talking about having Glavine, Maddox, and Smokes. Those are 3 Hall of Fame pitchers, and people seem to forget Smokes was a great hitter too. I mean, you know what I mean. We're not going to go too far into baseball.
Was it Dion?
But Dion did play for the Braves, and he did. I want to say that he might have had all 3 of those pitchers. I want to say, let me see, who came last on that pitching staff. Anyway, but yeah. I mean, yes.
He's
We're
good.
loaded.
Yes.
I wouldn't go too
We're
far on
Yes,
this, but he's a
yes.
great
We
safety.
I mean, the daggone Braves should have won way more World
We're a
Series.
squad.
How many they won?
I don't want to. I don't want. We didn't win enough. That's how many we daggone won. All right. So G says from 1925 to 1973, UGA never beat Tennessee. Only came up on our radar in '80. I saw that game. They beat Tennessee by 1 point. Neyland. Not on our radar again until we hired the bad coaches. LOL. Yeah. So. You know what? Really, I never liked the daggum hire of. Let's never hire if anyone. Let's never hire anyone from the family of any UGA anything. Okay, that should tell you enough. If you have any family, within 3 steps of you that has anything to do in a hierarchy of UGA, we're not going to hire you. Or Florida or Bama. That's killed us. That's killed us for 20 some odd years.
Yeah, a couple bad hires, man.
What are we doing?
I mean, if we would have made it, and we talked about that earlier, was Mike Hamilton planted?
Yeah, he was planted.
Run this program into the dirt.
He was,
and I think he did. I mean, if we would have made decent hires during those times, I mean, I feel like Kiffin was a good hire.
Yeah,
we couldn't predict that he was going to leave after one season, but then going to Dooley and Butch Jones, those 2 hires right there.
Sheesh.
And it happened to coincide with Bama surging with the Saban era, him surging.
That was just. Gross.
I mean that's what a lot of Clemson to be good because a lot of Clemson, there's a lot of players from the same area we do.
Yep.
I mean that's so much to happen. And so I think we take that part of history out of the equation, and maybe Farmer's still there, Kiffin's still wherever it is. I think it's still more of a kind of Tennessee and whoever else type of deal, as opposed to all these other teams.
We fell off way further than what we should have. So Stinky will also say Tennessee beat the brakes off a really good squad in Neyland as big underdogs in the early 2000s. That was a good day. LOL. Yeah, I think it's talking about Georgia. Yeah, I mean, that's very true. And we always hold a whole lot of honor to beating Georgia. It's weird. I've got an expectation to beat Georgia. Because coming up in the 90s, we beat them 9 years in a row. We never even worried about it.
I thought we would reverse that straight. I thought we beat y'all 9 years in a row.
That's just never going to happen. Right? That's just never going to happen. I can promise you that. Because you're not going to beat us this year. So that's never going to happen. Let's go some more. And so Sinkable also says, Al Wilson would have to be carried off on a stretcher, same with Will Overstreet. Man, listen, all those teams, all those players, they were all dogs. And they were going to lay it all out on the line for Tennessee. And that's kind of all that I was trying to get back to was just that we've got to get our players back to understanding, hey, this is Tennessee. And if you're not willing to, pretty much die for this, you're picking the wrong school. And honestly speaking, we don't want you here. Like, go to Georgia. Go over there if you want to tap out because we're going to come out here. We're going to hit you in the mouth for 60 minutes. And you're going to tap out at Georgia. We don't want you to tap out here at Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because we're here to win, and that's the next point. A lot of people don't get the passion that comes with this brand of football. It's a whole different thing. He says, and don't forget Avery, absolutely. And so Agent Orange says, I've got to give it to Kentucky's O-line. They kept Pierce and Barron out of the backfield. It comes down to what you said, Bull. We had better talent. That's why stacking recruiting classes is so important. Yeah, Agent Orange, thanks so much for the chat. I mean, I wouldn't even say they kept us out of the backfield because I feel like we've made plays in the backfield in the running game, just in that passing game. That pass rush just was not what it should have been, and it's just really.
And I will say this: I do feel like we are stacking kind of recruiting classes in terms of pass rushers. Look at, guys that aren't playing like Shandavian Bradley. Yeah, Caleb Herring's brother, Elijah Herring, or whatever his name is. Caleb Herring, I think is his name.
Caleb Herring, yeah.
We got Jordan Ross coming in. I think we are stacking those classes in that aspect. I think we do value getting to the passer. So,
yeah, for sure.
I think it will be something that we'll be
at. There's absolutely no question. I mean, if you look at the way that we have gone out and got players, what we're going after is guys that are dogs. On every single, I'm talking about offense, defense, special teams, we're getting a whole bunch of dogs, a whole bunch of them. So, I most definitely feel like next season is going to be tough. I think we're going to have to get into that transfer portal heavy, and we talked about this. We've got a lot of very critical holes to fill for next season. But the year after that, this team is going to be ridiculous. I mean, or at least it should be. You know, we've got a whole lot of guys that will be, you know, veterans and that completely get what Tennessee football is all about. And I'm looking more forward to that than probably anything else. But I do, you know, I'll take it one step at a time. And I feel like this is a, you know, Tennessee team that's most definitely going to be able to, you know, do some, you know, shake some things up. And, you know, we'll see how it all boils down. You know, we'll see what it all boils down to. Let's see what Agent Lawrence also has to say. He says, okay. Oh, yeah, we already did that one. All right, my bad. So he's talking about Steve Avery. Okay. And then G says, how was the first true offensive mind we've hired at Tennessee going back however far you go? Yeah, no, that's very true. And that's something that we kind of talked about. Kiffin probably actually would have been the first one. That's actually a really good call. But if you talk about from a total perspective of everything, X's and O's from top to bottom, you know, being physical and just doing the whole nine, yeah, Heupel is the best coach, I would say, that we've had from top to bottom. Now, what Fulmer did a really good job of is being able to go out and get whoever he wanted across the entire world. Went out there, but everyone was doing it, and we were just better at it than everyone else. So I don't want to hear about that crap. So, you know, whatever.
Okay, the mission.
We was able to go out and get whoever we wanted, and we had better talent than everybody else. But from an X's and O's perspective, we just was not that good, which is why we had such trouble up against Spurrier. But if we had Coach Heupel as the offensive coordinator on this staff back in the 90s, oh my gosh. Dude, we would have Fulmer would be considered the GOAT because we'd have so many national championships. We'd have way more than what Saban had. I mean, we'd still be winning. We would have won him from 98. I'm trying to think, when could we have ever lost? If Heupel came with that offense back in 99. Okay.
I don't think we ever lost.
We would have
we'd still be doing.
We'd have so many different national. But yeah. So anyway, that's very, very true. And obviously, we all love Coach Fulmer. We all love Coach. I mean, so P. He was young. He was maybe about 5 or 6 whenever he first met Coach Fulmer, and that was maybe about 2000, maybe 99. And it's coming off of a national championship title, and Coach Fulmer took that national championship ring off his finger, put it on P's finger, and for some reason P thought that he could take off with it, but
I thought I gave it to him.
Yeah, he was thinking he just gave it to him, but it's funny just because think about how many other kids that he put that ring on their fingers. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But that just goes to show how great Coach Fulmer was doing what he did. And I mean, we love Coach Fulmer. We can't speak enough good things about what he's done for this program, for this team, for this school. And, we're just hoping that Heupel can live up to it. And, hopefully Fulmer can be involved in us, carrying that torch to a, higher level than what it was before. That's what it's all about. But guys, well, I think we've pretty much got down to the end of the chats and everything. And we most definitely appreciate y'all for tuning in. We almost went a whole hour and a half.
Had a game.
That's crazy.
So that's why I was late.
We almost went a whole hour and a half. But thank y'all so We're gonna get into the next game up against UConn. Should be a pretty easy one. We don't know nothing about Georgia.
No. I was saying my bad was late. I had a game.
Yeah, he had a big playoff game in that. So.
Domination.
Dominated.
You already know. Oh, you know what? Something else that I did want to talk about. So obviously, Justin Baker, who just committed to the University of Tennessee in the class of 2025 from Buford High School. We know him on a very, very, personal level. Know him very well, and we are going to have him on a podcast coming up here shortly. So stay tuned for that. And if y'all have any questions that y'all want to have asked, let us know beforehand. It's something we're planning on doing next week. It might be this weekend. So let us know here shortly. Let us know soon. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share with your friends and family and other Vol fans. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thank y'all so much. Peace.